Star Trek Discovery. This is episode 60.
You're listening to 70s Trek with Bob Turner and Kelly Casco, the fan podcast that looks at Star Trek in the 1970s. It was the decade that built a franchise.
It's the first new Star Trek on TV since 2005. I'm Bob Turner.
And I'm Kelly Casco. And Star Trek Discovery is not like anything we've seen before. This week, we're going to give you our take on this new Trek property.
And there's a tie-in to the 1970s that we want to tell you about. But before we do, let's tell listeners how to find us. Just visit our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/70strek.
You can also send us an email to 70strek@gmail.com. Or you can find the show on iTunes. And now, Stitcher and SoundCloud. There's a SoundCloud right there.
Surprise shock.
Yes. So all you have to do is search for 70s Trek. When you do, leave us a comment, a review, or, just follow us. It all helps other Trek fans find the show.
Kelly, do you remember how you felt in 2005 when you heard that Enterprise was canceled?
I was so bummed. It finally was hitting a stride, and it was really good. And they shut it down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was really hard to believe that there wasn't going to be any new Star Trek to watch. I mean, we had become really spoiled, don't you think? After all, at that time, we'd been watching newly produced Star Trek on TV for 18 years. Can you imagine?
Yeah, no. And then whammo, it's gone. But not anymore.
No, it's back and totally different. Why don't we chat a little about the show? There are a few things I want to make sure that we touch on as we move forward here. So I thought we would talk about the story, talk about the actors, talk about the production, and then kind of finish just commenting on those folks who might not be excited about Discovery. So why don't we jump in and talk about the story first? As we record this, we're just at episode 3. So we're just going to talk about what we've seen so far, but we also wanted to make sure and wait. So we had a few episodes in the can to sort of talk about. I thought that might be a good idea.
That's a good idea.
So let's start with the story. Why don't you tell us your take on the story, Cal?
Well, so it's kind of interesting. We haven't really had a Trek that the captain wasn't the center.
Yeah, right.
And, Michael Burnham is basically the center.
Don't you think it's interesting, too? And hey, if you haven't watched yet, spoiler alert, we're going to talk here. Isn't it interesting, too, how this character was trying to do the right thing, save her crewmates, but found that she had to commit mutiny to do it.
Right.
And so this poor character is marked as a mutineer, and since the captain's dead, there's nobody to speak up for her.
Right. And, the captain really was a close friend, not just her captain. You could tell that from the very first real scene of those two.
Yeah,
together.
The two marching in the desert, waiting to be picked up, and they're sort of kidding around with each other back and forth a little bit. And Captain Giorgio even says, "Hey, you're about to get your own command." And then her whole world fell apart.
And she was so close.
So close. Just like Riker, so close.
Yeah, so close. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
So that's the story sort of to this point. Well, I shouldn't say that because actually in episode 3, a ton happens. We finally get to see the Discovery.
The Discovery, yes.
What did you think about that reveal?
Of course, we kind of knew the design a little bit, right?
Well, and here's the tie-in to the 1970s. The Discovery is based on a design by Ralph McQuarrie for the abandoned movie Planet of Titans way back in 1976, 1977.
Right. And Ralph went on to do, the imagining, the art, or the style for Star Wars.
Yeah, right. He really did some incredible stuff for Star Wars. And in fact, that was a project that probably wouldn't have moved forward if it wasn't for Ralph McQuarrie, don't you think?
Oh, I've read it numerous times that's the case, yeah.
Those illustrations really sold the idea of what the movie was going to be. So,
absolutely.
So there's the Discovery that looks really different, too. Very different from any other starship we've seen, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yes. And the way it was introduced by it coming in and getting the tractor beam on that shuttle.
Oh. And it was a beautiful shot as the camera moved up and across her.
Yep.
And, a lot of people I've saw online that a lot of people say, that's an ugly design. Who loves that thing? That's nothing. I really like it, actually.
It's growing on me. I think it's a little bit too intricate, but I still like the design, especially that saucer. It's like a ring with a center, and a little space in between the center and the ring, outer ring.
Yeah. And I really like the triangle underneath the saucer and the way that the engines are kind of really swept back.
Right.
And it gives it that length.
Yep.
It's really a neat effect. It's so different from the traditional Enterprise of the cigar-shaped lower section.
Yeah, and I was thinking about it from a usability standpoint. It gives you probably more living space.
A ton more.
Or, whatever. It's a science ship, so it's, probably got labs and all that kind of stuff in that section too.
Just a ton more space in that thing. That has to be. I agree with you because it's so much bigger.
Right.
Yeah, it's a neat design. It has grown on me too. So, hey, let's move on and talk a little bit about the actors playing the main characters. Tell me what you think about the actor who's playing Michael Burnham.
Sonequa Martin-Green. I can't say enough about her. I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead, which that's what she worked on before this. And just there and here, I think she just nails the part that she's playing. And here she's kind of a human that's, been trained and brought up by Vulcans. So she's a little bit cold, but you can tell she warms up over time.
What do you think? Do you think it's a jump the shark moment when she is brought up by Sarek, by Sarek's family? Is that a jump the shark moment, or do you think that's a legit tie to the original series?
It's probably a little bit of jump the shark, because did we ever know about her before?
No, but did we know about Sybok?
Well, that's true. That's true. That was definitely jump the shark.
That was big jumping. I don't think, and I guess others might say, well, Vulcans don't talk about their families. Well, yeah, I guess you could make that argument.
But Sarek wasn't the only one involved. There was Spock, and there was also Amanda, the mother. So,
what do you think of Michelle Yeoh as Captain Georgiou?
Again, Michelle Yeoh, I've watched her in numerous movies, and just everything she does is class.
She's strong in this. She's really strong in this. She plays Captain Georgiou really, really well. And what's really funny to me is, for over almost a year or more, all of the Star Trek Discovery marketing was about Sonequa Martin-Green and Michelle Yeoh. This is, going to be in Star Trek Discovery, and it was lots of pictures of them, and, and she's dead in the second episode.
Yes.
She's gone.
Yes, it was heartbreaking, but I understand for, moving the story forward, but holy mackerel.
Yeah, but, I mean, they acted in the marketing as if, Michelle Yeoh was a major player in this episode, in this series rather, and
yes,
not so much.
Not so much.
Well, I think that's probably to the advantage of the story to have a strong character actor like her carry Captain Georgiou, into the story, deliver Captain Georgiou so well, and then she's gone, because that character will leave a long impact. Yeah.
Now, but think of how she portrayed that. She was strict Starfleet by the book. Very, very good captain. You could tell, very respected, because you saw the her interactions with everybody, and just great character. And then you go to the next character,
Captain Gabriel Lorca, played by Jason Isaacs. What do you want to say about him?
Well, compare and contrast. He's not necessarily by the book Starfleet.
Oh, no, he says it in episode 3, huh? I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get people home and end this war.
Right. And as he's talking to Michael Burnham, towards the end of that episode, and he brings up the title of the episode, Context is King.
Yeah.
He believed in what she did.
Yes. He got it.
Yes.
Which is really kind of cool because, and of course she says, well, why would you want to mutineer? And he lays out why, because you're the kind of officer I need if I'm going to end this war. This character, I wasn't sure at first, how is this going to shake out? You've got a character who is no longer the lead.
Right.
And will you learn enough about the captain to like him? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I got to tell you, by the end of episode 3, I liked this character, and I liked the way Isaacs played him a lot.
Oh, I like the way Isaacs played him. I'm not sure about the character yet. I mean, he brings over that whatever, that creature.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, who knows where that's going?
Right.
I guess we'll know next episode 4.
Right, but it kind of feels kind of, I don't know, sketchy, if you will.
I think what we're going to see from him is Kirk in the episode Obsession, where Kirk is going to do anything he has to do. Or in those moments when we've seen Kirk or even Picard behave in those ways. This is so important.
Yep.
Or even Archer, in the 3rd season when he was going to the Expanse. I got to do what I got to do. If it changes me, I'm going to have to live with that. I think maybe Lorca might be a little bit like that.
Or Scotty in Trouble with Tribbles, and he's going to teleport that beast over to a Klingon ship.
I thought you had something a little deeper and more meaningful, but...
Hell no.
Okay, we'll just let that slide. There are a lot more actors and characters. We just wanted to touch on those 3. Certainly, if you have another favorite actor or character that you've seen so far, tell us about that person on our Facebook page. We're just going to talk about those 3 right now. Let's move on to the production. CBS had a real bumpy road getting Discovery launched. The new series was announced in early 2016, and former Voyager writer Bryan Fuller was chosen to not only create the show, but he was going to be the show's showrunner as well. But there were some disagreements between Fuller and CBS about the direction of the show, how it would be, the format of the show, that kind of thing. And Fuller ended up leaving. And now we have showrunners Gretchen Berg and Aaron Harberts, who have taken over for Fuller, and they're going to be in the showrunner position moving forward. So let's talk about the production a little bit. Kelly, what do you think? Are you impressed by what you've seen?
Well, like we've said, it's not like anything we've seen in Trek yet.
No.
So, there's some things, that I might nitpick. Klingons.
Go ahead.
Just
nitpick.
Leave it there.
No, go ahead.
But they're shiny. Why are they shiny? And their suits are ornate.
They're different.
Yeah, so it's really different.
I mean, obviously, this show is supposed to fit in the, quote unquote prime timeline and lines up 10 years right before Kirk takes over the Enterprise. And then we've got Klingons that are very, very different.
Yes.
Now, for those who really love the canon and like to say, oh my God, this doesn't work. Okay, you're right. From that point of view, they all ought to be wearing turtlenecks made out of velour. The bridge ought to be grays.
Yeah.
And we ought to be holding pistol-looking phasers rather than the cool ones that they have in the show.
And no bumpy stuff on their foreheads.
And Klingons wouldn't look like that. Right, exactly. But on the other side of this, Star Trek is flexible and malleable enough to where the format can change over time. Right. And I think we've seen it happen time and time again. Look at the original series compared to the motion picture, or compared to The Wrath of Khan.
Right.
Or compared to The Next Generation, or compared to Enterprise. The format of Star Trek, that is, of humans exploring space and, oh, by the way, exploring humanity. That's really what Star Trek is about, being better versions of ourselves as we explore what it means to be human. That format is flexible enough to have some changes here and there. And that's all that's happening here with Discovery.
Right.
And I don't mind it.
No, I don't mind it either. And it is so different that I don't think too much about, okay, this is, the original series and it's not canon and blah, blah, blah. It's different enough and it's updated enough that, I think it's relevant and still enjoyable.
I was struck by the production and the fact that it seems film quality. It seems like I'm sitting there watching a motion picture. That's how good this production really, really is. I was very impressed by that.
Right. Well, when they took the shuttle from Discovery in the third episode and landed in the other ship, and I'm sorry, I didn't write down what the other ship was called, but it's blown up now. But how it landed and came in, I'm watching, and I know it's CGI, but I'm watching, and it's like, holy crap, that's really cool.
Still very impressive.
Yes.
Very, very impressive. This show is doing the kind of effects that you usually only see in the movies, and it's very, very cool to see it here for Star Trek show.
Yep. And the other thing, and we've already talked about it, Bob, but we'll bring it up here. It's serialized. It's a continuing story. That's
the biggest thing about the production. That wall between the episodes began to break down with Deep Space Nine. Yes. It even began to, and it broke down even more, I should say, in the third season of Enterprise. But nothing came close to what we're going to see here in Discovery.
You are correct, sir.
I like it when you say that. Well, let's talk about our last point. In my notes, I called this point Deniers and Naysayers. As Discovery geared up through 2016 and 2017, and if you're a fan, you will have noticed this. There have been a lot of folks out there on the internet saying, I won't watch. It's not my Star Trek. I've seen enough. I don't like the uniforms. I don't like this. I don't like that. Oh, my God. There's not going to be a captain in the lead. People have found anything, any reason at all, especially the Klingons, to not like this show.
Right.
So, Kelly, tell me what you think about folks like this. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Wow, that's putting me on the spot, boy. Just watch a few episodes, keep watching the episodes, and see if it grows on you. You don't have to like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Move on.
I mean, you remember 1987 and when The Next Gen came out, right?
Oh, yeah.
There were people then saying, it's not Star Trek. No Kirk, no Spock, no McCoy. It's not Star Trek. Can't watch it. Won't watch it.
Yep.
And it seems to me that I'm hearing very similar naysayers now. oh, this isn't Star Trek. It doesn't happen in the prime timeline. The Klingons are different. This is different. I don't like that. It seems like the same thing where people can't seem to let go of what they loved prior to let in something new and maybe love it.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, you and I are the second generation of Trek fans. We watched it right after the show went off the air in syndication in the 1970s. For you and I and those folks who watched it when it ran originally, we're probably, or we should be, the hardest people to convince. We should be the biggest deniers or naysayers out there because we were right there with the original series.
Exactly.
And yet I got to tell you, for all those people who have decided they don't like Discovery before even seeing it, just let me say this, in the 1970s, we would have killed to have new Trek on TV.
Absolutely. We read those comics.
Absolutely.
We watched the animated series.
God, yeah, we watched read the Gold Key comics, right?
Yeah, yes. Well, we were just desperate for anything.
Anything. And we watched the animated series. Yes. We loved it.
Right.
And think of it this way, too. We all had to wait 18 years after the original series ended until we finally got the next generation. And look how well that turned out.
Absolutely.
So now we've waited another 18 to get a new version. And, I'm happy it's back.
I'm ecstatic.
Right. Absolutely. Because you know what? In the end, and I said this to somebody online and they totally shot me down, but in the end, if you're a Trek fan, you will believe this. Any Trek is better than no Trek. Next week, the actor who played Dr. Leonard McCoy.
Well, yes, we're talking about DeForest Kelley. See you then.
Thanks for listening to 70s Trek, an independent fan production. Join us next week as we explore more about the production, the actors, the producers, and the influencers of Star Trek in the lost decade of the 1970s on 70s Trek.